I'm presenting on Maandukya Upanishad, and thanks to Acharya Vedashamiji for helping me better understand the topic, and thanks to Dhirendra Uncle for giving me a base on which to work on. So, an overview of the Maandukya Upanishad, it focuses on the four states and how they relate to God's primary name, Om. On the side, you can see there's like a little explanation of each mantra. They describe what God does to put him in which state. Today we will be focusing on the mantras 5 through 8. Next slide. So recap, there are four states: Jaagrit, Svapna, Sushupti, and Turiya. So for Jaagrit, for the soul and body. The soul in the body in Jaagrit Avastha has knowledge of the outside. The soul uses the seven organs: head, ears, eyes, voice, lungs, heart, and feet. And it uses the 19 mouths. It's called mouths because whenever you think of experiencing this world and engaging in senses, you're usually going to think about not engaging by ears, but like bhog karna. You do it by mouth. Like you usually going to think about eating this, eating that. So they've used mouth to represent that. There are 19 mouths with which we experience this world in Jaagrit Avastha. The 10 senses and the 5 pran, apan, vyan, saman, udan, and these are the outer mouths. 4 inner mouths are man, buddhi, chit, and ahankar. The soul in this state is called Vaishwana because it interacts with all the humans outside in the outside world. It is called Bahiprajya because it has knowledge of the outside world. And it is also called Sthulbhuk because it experiences the gross things in this universe. And Acharyaji and Dhirendra Uncle, please correct me if there's anything wrong. Jaagrit Avastha in relation to God and Prakriti. In the Jaagrit Avastha of Prakriti, it is when Prakriti is currently functioning, and this is when God is in Jaagrit Sthan. So we have to understand the distinction between the Avastha, which is the state, and the Sthan. Avastha in this is related to Prakriti. When God is in Jaagrit Sthan, then the Prakriti is in Jaagrit Avastha. So we have to understand that distinction. Avastha is not Sthan, and Sthan is not Avastha. So God uses his 7 organs as fire as his head, sun and moon as his eyes, directions as his ears, Vedas as his voice, air as his lungs, the whole world as his heart, and our earth as his feet. These are his 7 organs. So when the body is in Jaagrit Avastha or state, the soul is in Jaagrit Sthan. Well, yeah. Now, of course, so this is another representation of that when the body is in Jaagrit Avastha, soul is in Jaagrit Sthan. So there's an example of a car. Here, the person in the car you can say is the soul, while the car itself can represent the body. When the car is in Jaagrit state, when it is moving, the person inside is also moving. So he is in Jaagrit Sthan. So when the car was in Jaagrit Avastha, the person was in Jaagrit Sthan. So the fundamental attributes of soul and God, they never change. However, their actions can change. Their sthan can change based on the state of the place they are in. When the man was in the car, the man's body was the same. It was moving due to the car's movement. His sthan is based on the state of the place he is in. If the car had stopped, then the car would be in Sushupti Avastha. Or the man would also stop because the state of the place he was in had changed. So we went from Jaagrit Sthan to Sushupti Sthan when the car went from Jaagrit Avastha to Sushupti Avastha. Let's talk about an example about gold. So the top 3 pictures here, the bangle, the ring, and the necklace, they can represent the first 3 states or phases, Jaagrit, Svapna, and Sushupti. That's one group. And the bar of gold represents the Turiya state. So the properties of the gold remain the same throughout the necklace, the bangle, and the ring. The only thing that changes is its shape, its state. Gold remains present. And Turiya Avastha, the bottom one, is when the soul or God are not in any of the other states. So it is their pure state. That's called Turiya. So the gold is in its pure state. It's not in a bangle or with diamonds on it. It's pure gold. That's Turiya. So now let's move on to Svapna Avastha, which is soul and body. This happens when the soul goes into Swapnistan. This is when the soul functions not in the Jaagrit stan, but in the Swapnistan. In this phase, the soul is called Antaha Prajya. Before it was called Bahi Prajya because it was getting knowledge of the outside world. Now it's Antaha Prajya, which means the knowledge of the things inside the body. In the previous state, the soul uses his mind, he used his senses, his mind, etc. In this phase also, they exist. However, in the Jaagrit phase, the soul used the sthula senses, the gross senses. Similarly, here, the soul uses his subtle senses and subtle body to understand, to get knowledge. Before the soul perceived the material world, now the soul perceives the world of his thoughts. The soul is called Tejas because its subtle body is made of Tej, astral. Svapna, in relation to God and Prakriti. So the universe is in Svapna phase when it is about to be made. An example is given of a building. When an architect is about to build a building, he or she makes a mental representation of the building. At that point, the building is in Svapna phase. So can anyone tell me, if the building represents this universe, then who represents the architect? God. So when he's thinking about creating this universe, it is in Svapna Avastha, and he is in Swapnisthana. So now for today's Sushupti. Om yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyati tat sushuptam sushuptasthana eki bhutah prajnana dhana eva nandamayo yananda bhukte to mukhaha rajyaskriti padah. So then the soul, the Sushupti Avastha happens when the soul is in Sushupti's time, or vice versa. The body is not awake or dreaming, which we can call sound sleep. So when the soul, instead of extending itself to the outside world, like in Jaagrit Avastha, condenses into itself and has minimal contact with the body does not do any activity. Because the body does activity because the soul has contact with the body. If the soul has minimal contact, the body will have minimum activity. So this we can call concentric consciousness. The soul is called Rajyanadhana. This is because all of the knowledge and consciousness has been condensed into one spot. And there is no physical activity. The soul is called Rajya also because now it is not receiving any more new knowledge from the outside world or from the inside. Sushupti in relation to God and Prakriti. God is in Sushupti's Sthan, in Sushupti Avastha. And this is when Prakriti is in Pralaya state, when it is destroyed. All the universe has condensed. Notice the use of the same word again, condensed back into Prakriti. So the next mantra is about God in relation to these three states. Esha sarvesha esha sarvajya esho antaryam yesha yoni sarvasya prabhavapya yogi bhutanam. In the above stated three phases, the Lord of all is omnipresent, omniscient, and is all-pervading. He is the controller of the entire universe. He is the womb, the holder of all animates and inanimates, and the cause of births and deaths of all kinds of beings. So this is the last avastha, Turiya avastha. Om nantaha pradyam na vahi pradyam no bhayataha pradyam na pradyanaganam na pradyam adrishtam avyavaharyam agratyam alakshanam achintyam avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram prapancho pashamam shantam Shivamadvaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vidyeyah. So this is when the soul goes into Turiya Sthan, the body goes into Turiya Avastha. So there is not knowledge of the outside, which is Bahipradya, which was in Jaagrit Avastha. There is no knowledge of the inside, Antaha Prajya, which was in Svapna Avastha. There is not knowledge of both. And there is not concentric consciousness. So this state cannot be seen or felt. So we can ask, what can be said about this state? If everything is not, then what is? So we can say that the soul and God are in their true form. This is a peaceful and calm state. And this happens when soul and God are not in any of the other states. They come into Turiya state. And then Last is Om, which is now we're going to start the relation Om. This is my last mantra. So, Om Sovayamatmadhyaksharamokaro pada matra matrashta pada akara ukaro makara iti. So this means that Om is the most admirable and esteemable name of God, and its infinite attributes are truly represented by the three letters constituting Om, which is A, U, and M, A-U-Ma. So next week we will define the letters A, U, and Ma belonging to God's name in detail. Thank you.